Do you lie awake at night replaying every mistake you made as a mom, wondering if you'll ever be able to forgive yourself? You are not alone in that. Did you know that 94% of moms experience parenting guilt at some point? That's almost 100% of us. Many moms, especially those facing estrangement, carry the weight of that guilt every day and for many years. But here's the truth. You do not have to stay stuck in that. In this video, I want to walk through some realistic steps to help you finally start forgiving yourself and then healing at the same time. Number one is recognizing. We have to recognize things without allowing it to define ourselves, right? We all make mistakes, but when we allow those mistakes to define who we are, that is not the sum total of who we are, but we have to recognize it. And a lot of people have a hard time doing this. So when you can start to do that and really see things for what they are, that's when change can happen. The first step to forgiveness for yourself is recognizing that the mistakes you've made are real, right? But at the same time, not letting them define your identity as a mom or as a woman. And too often, guilt will convince us, guilt is a liar, guilt will convince us that we're a bad mom because of moments in time or moments of weakness or poor judgment or tough seasons. But forgiveness at the same time, it requires separating those mistakes from your sense of self-worth. So that's the only way that can happen, because if you don't separate those two things, your self-worth is in the tank and all you do is focus on your mistakes, hence the guilt. So why does this matter? You can't grow when you're stuck in shame. And when we can recognize those mistakes, that will give you the clarity and insight into what you want to change and what you need to change moving forward. And it's really a way to take responsibility without tearing yourself down, right? So maybe you were a mom that had a lot of anger. You were under a lot of stress. So maybe you yelled at your child during a stressful moment or ignored their feelings when they were, needing you the most. But instead of replaying those moments as a punishment to yourself, look at them more like you're curious. Like, look at them with curiosity and saying, okay, look at the whole big picture. What was going on at that time? What can I learn from at that time? Was there other circumstances in the same, vicinity? Was there something else going on that your child would have no idea about? Very, very likely at that point, if we're talking about when they were younger. And so even if you're having these conversations with your kids now, it's still, I think everybody, regardless of age, can do this, obviously, and it's beneficial for all of us. But another tip that I got years ago was create a mistake and lesson list. So if you write down your regrets that you have, kind of like the pro and con list we used to always make, write down your regrets and then pair each one with a lesson learned. And you're going to realize, like I always tell my moms in my group, it's like, when we go through hard times, that's when we grow. And so many of us are so afraid to go through bumpy waters and hard times and hard relationships. But when you can see the other side, even though you're not there yet, and you can trust that God has it, the other side of that problem is going to be a blessing in some way, shape, or form. But we can't, if we're not taking a really close inventory of what we regret and pairing those things with lessons learned from the past, how do we expect to move forward? But when we can look at things and go, okay, yeah, I've been through some really hard stuff in my life, but look at how I came out the other side, and my life is better. Life is better for it in a lot of these cases. So number two is releasing those unrealistic expectations. We talk about expectations a lot, but you as a mom are bombarded with the expectation to be perfect. You and I all know that it's not going to happen, but we need to be patient. We need to be available, but no one can live up to that. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's always nurturing, always super patient, 100% there. We are pulled in so many different directions. But when you can let go of those unrealistic standards that the world has put on you, maybe your family's put on you, that is going to help you with self-forgiveness as well. Because holding on to this perfection mindset keeps you stuck in guilt. Like, if you don't release that perfection, the state of perfection that's not even attainable, it doesn't matter who you are, real forgiveness will start when you acknowledge that you did the best you could with what you knew and the resources that you had. So maybe you feel guilty because you weren't as present as you wanted to be. Maybe you were a young mom. I hear a lot of moms, I was a young mom. I was working 2 jobs. I was trying to go to school. I was trying to do all these things. Now, that was me. But I had to release that guilt because I couldn't be present the entire time. It was nearly impossible. And so you have to let go of those struggles. And you may not have had all the answers back then. And that's okay, because guess what? It doesn't come, motherhood, being a mom, doesn't come with a guidebook. There's no manual. Okay. Even though our kids many times like to think that there were, and that maybe we just didn't follow it. But let's be realistic. We're humans. We're human. So I want you to reflect more on what you did right. And for every one of those self-criticisms, I want you to balance that with a positive memory. So everything that you're kicking yourself for right now, I want you to balance that with a positive memory, because I know you have them. So if you regret being short-tempered, think about a time that you did show up for them in a meaningful way and offset those things, right? This is so good, so important. And so for those of you moms that you're taking a look at all of this and you're like, this situation, this journey is so hard and I can't do this by myself anymore. If that's you and you are looking for a lifeline and you're committed to finding support, then you can explore how I might be able to help you. You can book a discovery call with me. It's an opportunity where I can learn more about your situation. I want to know how it is affecting you, because that's where I come in. And we can see if we're the right fit for coaching. But the spots are limited. Please sign up when you're serious about prioritizing yourself. If you're not ready right now, that is okay. Totally okay. It's going to be in your time figuring out what you need to get through this. But don't do this alone. So for those of you that are ready for that and you're ready to start investing in your own healing, then you can click the link and schedule your call today. Number 3 is practicing self-compassion. We always, as moms, we want to be compassionate to everybody else, but we're usually last in line. So that self-compassion definitely needs to start now in your life. And so that means showing up for yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a friend. We're always our harshest critics, but self-forgiveness is not going to be possible for you if you're constantly judging yourself. If you're constantly looking back and saying, I should have done this, I should have done that, I shouldn't have done this, and you just cannot get off that cycle, you are not going to be able to forgive yourself. So the first 2 points that I made earlier, those exercises can be super helpful. Criticism keeps you stuck in shame, while if you can try self-compassion with yourself, it's going to give you more space to heal. And so it will help your journey. I think it'll help you view your journey with a little bit more empathy. Like, wow, you know what? I did do the best I could. I remember that night and I blew my temper. And rather than blaming myself, I have to realize that, you know what? I am human and I was doing the best I could. I was just overwhelmed. Okay. So I want you to imagine yourself telling a friend about her parenting mistakes. If a friend asked you, like, what, as a parent, what are the mistakes that you think I've made? Would you scold her or remind her that she's doing her best? Right? You would probably remind her that she's doing her best. I don't think you would be scolding her and telling her how horrible she is. So why are you doing that to yourself? And so that's why you have to apply that same grace for yourself. So you do need to forgive yourself for these past mistakes because you're committed to doing better now. And if that's you, then it can be that simple. Forgiveness does not have to be hard. It's not meant to be hard. And then number 4 is taking accountability, but not all the blame. There's a difference here. So taking accountability is important. But many moms confuse this with absorbing all the blame for the estrangement. Like, this is all my fault. But forgiveness requires owning your actions without taking responsibility for everything that has gone wrong. Your child's choices, experiences, responsibilities in the relationship. You have to own your part. But if you're overloading yourself with blame, that's just going to keep you stuck as well. And so have that balanced accountability, realistic, not taking on the burdens that are not yours to carry. We have enough of our own. You might even, for an example, you could say to yourself, I recognize that my child has their own choices and perspective that shape this situation that has become the elephant in the room or whatnot. But the balance is what's going to help you take responsibility for your part without letting the guilt consume you. And so that's a really good exercise you can do as well. You could even write a letter of accountability where you acknowledge your own actions, share what you've learned, express your commitment to growth, all of these things. This does not have to be for anybody's eyes but your own. And that can be for your own reflection, I think is really good. And then at some point, maybe with your child, possibly. But overall, I think the letter of accountability to yourself is excellent. I think that's a great idea that every single one of us should do. I just want to remind you that, again, forgiving yourself is not about ignoring the past and pretending things didn't happen, but it's about freeing yourself from the guilt that holds you back. And so the journey's not easy, but it's definitely worth taking, not just for you, but for the relationships in your life and for the relationships you want to rebuild. So I hope that helps. I will see you in the next episode. God bless.